Fear Zone, your channel of horror and werewolf stories. Good evening, everyone, and now, let's go to today's report, which is from Mr. Elio, and this happened to him in the city of Maringa, which is in Brazil, and at that time, which was in the year 2016, Mr. Elio was 27 years old. And today, I'm going to tell you something that I saw, that to me, it was definitely a werewolf, and it was hidden to try to attack me. And it all starts like this. I live in a village far from the city, but at that time, I worked as a mason's helper in a construction site near the city center. One day, after I finished my work hours, I went to a little bar, which was close to my neighborhood. I was there talking to a hillbilly friend of mine, but I ended up negotiating with this man for him to sell me one of his bicycles. The fact is that this redneck said that if I wanted, I could see your bikes right now. I agreed, because if the business went well, I would in the morning work with such a bike. Anyway, it was almost close to 11 o'clock at night, and I was walking on foot, along with this besieged friend of mine on the road, to be able to get to his place. While we were walking down the road, suddenly, we saw a car stopped in the middle of the dirt street, and then came down a strange guy from this car, and to me that vehicle was an Uber. That for me, the driver left that man there. And of course, I found this situation strange, because as someone, I would want to go down this dark road at this time. But soon, the Uber car was gone, and the stranger who got out of the car started walking down the dirt street, and this guy was walking looking towards the woods. But then this guy started to get sick and vomit on the ground. As soon as we passed near him, we asked if this guy was okay. The guy said everything was normal, and then he put his hands in front of his eyes. This guy seemed to hide his eyes from us, and he took a pair of glasses quickly in his pocket and put it on his face, and this man didn't want help, so I continued to walk down the road with my redneck friend, and the strange fellow stood on the road still vomiting. Anyway, that guy was very strange. I decided to look back, and I didn't see that suspect on the road anymore. But I looked into the woods, and saw some bushes moving, and to me, even though I no longer saw the fellow of the road, it was surely he who had entered the midst of the thicket. I let it go, and my friend and I kept walking down the road, and after a few minutes we got to his place, so I made a deal with him, and ended up getting his bike. After that, I got the bike, and started walking down the road with her, to go away to my house. But then I got to the road, where I had seen this man who was vomiting, but this street was empty and with no one. Well, while riding the bike, all of a sudden, I saw something strange happening in a tree, because its branches started to move out of nowhere, and for me, there was someone up there. Even so, I was slowly passing by this tree, to see what was on top of the branches, but there were many leaves on this tree, and you couldn't see anything. But it was that soon, I heard a noise of branches breaking, and I saw something falling to the ground. And it made a noise, and I was startled by that. I don't know what it was, but it seemed to be an animal or a person who fell from the top of the tree. I stopped the bike to look a little, but a kind of black and hairy animal came out of the woods running on 4 legs, and came towards me at high speed. But lucky for me, I do not know what happened to this beast, which he tripped and fell to the ground growling in pain. I took advantage of this moment, and I didn't wait, and started pedaling the bike quickly to get away from this animal. While running with the bike, I heard some passing noises of that animal running after me, but soon also, I heard a kind of a noise of tumbling on the ground, but I didn't even look back, so I could not lose the speed of the bike. At last, afterwards I realized that the animal was no longer behind me, for I no longer heard the noise of its footsteps, and with that I stopped to look at that animal, and was surprised by what I saw, for that beast was a huge and large animal and could not see whether it was a dog or not, but the problem is that this creature was limping with its front paws, and sure enough he was injured by the fall of the tree, and luckily he could not catch me in the race. But something strange began to happen, for I was going to live now one of the greatest experiences that I have had in my life, but to make me even more shocked and very impressed, because the creature could not walk on four legs, this being stood up and stood still like people, balancing on two legs, as if it were a person, and I saw that his eyes looked like two lights on at that moment. There was no doubt that this beast was a werewolf. I was very frightened by the appearance of this werewolf, and I pedaled fast with the bike from that place, and I went through several roads very scared. I kept riding the bike. I managed to get home. I explained to my brother and my father what I had and the danger I went through. I don't know if they believed me that I had seen a werewolf, but my father kept looking out the window to try to see something, but nothing appeared. Time went by, and I went to sleep. The other day too, I went to work normally, but my routine I changed, and I was no longer in the bars until night, because I did not want to take the risk to face the werewolf again. However, a month or so passed. I was already more relaxed with this werewolf story, but it was that one day I went to a bar to drink and play billiards, and stayed late, and so I looked at the street, and I saw this guy who threw up on the road. That day the werewolf ran after me, and this suspicious man passed in front of the bar, wherein I went to talk to him, to warn him of the creature of the road, and warn him not to walk the roads alone. Well, I talked to this man about the dangerous beast that attacked me, but at that moment I saw that the arms of this guy was bandaged with bandages of bandage. At that instant came to me memories that I related this man with werewolf that attacked me, and that he could be the creature of the road. I was afraid of this situation, and after that conversation, the suspect also became suspicious of me, and he left and disappeared. As it was night, I ended up taking a bus to return to my house that day, for I would not risk walking down the road and run the risk of running into the werewolf, and even more so with that suspicious man who had his arms bandaged and walking through my village, for that was the track I had, that when the werewolf fell from the tree he injured his arm as well. And so those men were the werewolf. Anyway, after that day, until today, I haven't seen this guy around my village anymore, but one thing I know, werewolves exist and are violent and attack people. Good night. Well guys, thanks for watching the video, and if you liked the story, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next one.